Welcome to Subramani. As a value investor, there are two things that you have to accept. One is volatility will happen and sector rotation will happen. Now the question is, whenever you are, I'm taking this from another blog, is investing is a matter of being very arrogant, because you are trying to tell somebody, look, I'm right and you are wrong, right? There is a guy on the other side or a girl on the other side who is selling and you are buying. So you're saying, I'm right, this share is going to go up, and you're wrong, right? So that is itself a sign of arrogance. And in case of value investing, it is even more arrogant, because you are trying to say, I know I've got the sector right, I know I'm buying an unloved share, and I know that all the noise that the media makes, whether it is CNBC or ET Now or anything international, you are saying, well, they don't mind, they don't matter. But sometimes, maybe very rarely and very occasionally, the media is also right. Some of the experts coming on the media, maybe accidentally they are right, but they could be right. So you are trying to say, everybody else is wrong, I am right, and therefore I am buying this share. Or everybody else is waiting for the party to be over, but I am leaving the party a little early. I came in early, so I can afford to leave early, so I don't have to wait till the clock strikes 12. I'm leaving early. So whatever you're doing something very different from what the crowd is doing. To be able to buy PSU shares when nobody wanted to buy it, and hold on till now, and then say, okay, now I think it is fully priced, to be able to sell it, all that required tremendous amount of skill, especially if you're handling public money, right? If you're handling your own money, you're not answerable to anyone. You can say, I don't want to take a call on the BFSI at all. But can you afford to be a fund manager in the public space and say, I will not take any exposure to BFSI, or I will be dramatically underweight on BFSI? Because right now, the tragedy is, most of the media houses are also controlled by players in the BFSI space. So in the BFSI space, everybody wants the BFSI shares to go up for whatever reasons, and there is going to be no pushback. Who's going to tell a fund manager working in an AMC that he should not buy BFSI? Because all his friends, everybody is ESOP, and life is connected to that, right? So it's very difficult to be a contrarian and say, okay, the whole world is buying BFSI and I will not buy BFSI, or the whole world is now buying pharma but I will not buy pharma. Or to say, the best way to invest in a gilt fund is to do an SIP. People don't do it. Even companies which have good gilt funds themselves don't do an SIP in a gilt fund. They only do lump sum once in a while. They must have done it during the IPO. And that's how people behave. So amidst all this, to swim against the current and say, no, I think I will take a call on interest rates, so I'll buy gilt. Or say, I will take a call on the interest rates, I will take a call on the quality of risk that you can buy, and therefore I'll put money in a credit risk fund. I have money in a credit risk fund which is doing well, and I have no regrets having put money in that, right? So all these things, to be able to stand against the crowd and say, I will do this when everybody else is redeeming from a credit risk fund. I would invest, I have invested in a credit risk fund, I do SIP in a gilt fund, and I still do lump sum, but I still do a small SIP because I don't know whether the market rates have peaked, whether it will peak, right? Now, given all this, where does your arrogance end and where does your sensible investing start, right? So you have to be arrogant, and like contrarian Ned says, to be a value investor is more than being arrogant. You're telling the world that, okay, there are 25 of you who are wrong, and I'm right? So I'm taking a path which these people don't have the guts to take, or they can't see obviously why I'm taking the path, and I could be wrong. That is the worst thing. I could be wrong. So I'm taking along like a Pied Piper, I'm playing the tune, people are following me, and I could be wrong. I could take them off the cliff, they could just fall off, right? Amidst all this is the word called the arrogance of the value investor. So Can you afford to be arrogant? Actually, you must be arrogant, because it's very difficult to be not arrogant and be a contrarian, because when you're a contrarian, you have to think differently, you have to talk differently and things like that. But it does not mean you cross the road when the signal is red, right? So to be able to do all these things requires some skill, requires to know that you are being arrogant because you think you're right about the industry, about the company, or whatever you have, right? So you think you're right. So finding that thing between being arrogant, not being arrogant, having a control over your soul, having a control over your mind, and saying I will do what is right. And having the support of your trustees, your shareholders, your board of directors and your investors is not going to be very easy, right? For developing this arrogance, it is also important that you should forget all your past mistakes, past things when you got it right, and so that's not easy. It's not easy to do a control or delete on your brain, because your brain is going to say, look, you remember that you did this in August 2014 and you were completely wrong till September 2015. So 11 months it was very difficult. So your mind also plays on you, saying don't do this, and but you have to then say, what I am doing, if I didn't do it, will I regret it? And most of these regrets are not reversible, right? So suddenly you feel, should I have some regrets? Is this right? Why are so many people still not buying this share? Right? So there are some transactions which you do and you keep wondering why others are not doing. For example, there was this merger of Liberty I don't remember, Liberty Chemicals or something, which got merged into Coromandel International. I could see the gap in price and given the ratio, and I kept wondering why the hell is nobody else participating in it. So I cut down my level of participation, but I had got rid of all my Coromandel International shares and replaced it with Liberty. And then the merger went through, and I had at the end of the deal I had more shares of Coromandel than what I had before I started doing these transactions. Was it worthwhile? Absolutely. That was a time when the dividends were when there was no long-term capital gain on equity. So that meant I could just do an arbitrage without worrying about tax. Today I can't, because there is a tax on equity, right? The question is, how do we handle our mind when the markets are so volatile? Is to create friends who are outside the industry, some senior friends who are in the industry, more reputed, handling bigger portfolios. Talk to them, find out what they do, how they handle it. Is it there in their portfolio? Go, if you think you want to buy some share, look at who are the other investors, see if you can talk to them, find out what price target they have, why they bought, why they sold, right? Keep talking, put in your own checks and balances, and it's the only way it will work. Thank you.